The night was still, the city lights casting a faint glow through the towering glass walls of Jeon at the house. The world saw him as a ruthless businessman, a man whose name was spoken in whispers, whose power crushed anything its way. He built his empire with an iron will, never faltering, never showing weakness, cold and dangerously composed. Jungkook was feared by many. And now he was her husband. Wine sat on the edge of the luxurious bed, her fingers twisting in the silk fabric of her robe, the weight of reality pressed down on her. This was their wedding night. For the first time, she would share a bed with him, not out of love, but because marriage had bound them together. Her heart pounded against her ribs when she heard the heavy sound of his footsteps. Jungkook walked in, his tie undone, the first two buttons of his shirt left open, revealing a glimpse of the sculpted perfection beneath. His dark eyes found her immediately. "You are nervous." His voice was low, almost amused. Wine swallowed hard, looking away. It is just. Jungkook moved closer, standing before her. He reached out gently, tilting her chin up to meet his gaze. "Did you think I would hurt you?" His thumb brushed over her lower lip, his touch feather light yet commanding. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. A smile ghosted his lips before he leaned down, his breath warm against her ear. "Then let me show you." He was slow, deliberate. The moment his lips touched hers, it was not demanding or rough as she had expected. It was tender, unhurried, as if he was savoring her. His finger traced over her shoulders, slipping beneath the fabric of her robe, pushing it down until it pulled around her. "Relax, sweetheart," Jungkook murmured, pressing soft along her jaw. "Let me take care of you." His words sent shiver down her spine. She had prepared for indifference, for a mechanical act of duty, but this was different. He guided her with his lips, whispering sweet reassurances as he worshipped every inch of her. "Breathe, Vivian." He coaxed his fingers with hers above her head as he hovered over her. Her body betrayed her, melting beneath his expert, surrendering to the way he cherished her. And when he finally claimed, it was with such reverence, such aching tenderness, that she gave in to the man who had sworn he felt nothing, yet held her like she was the most precious thing in his world. "Mine," Jungkook whispered against her lips as they reached his hands cradling her cheek. "You belong to me." And as her body trembled in the she realized she had never truly understood the man she had married. The soft morning light filtered through the sheer curtains, casting a golden glow over the room. Wine stirred her body, still languid from the night before. A warmth surrounded her, unfamiliar yet oddly comforting. And then she realized Jungkook's arm was wrapped over her waist, effortlessly holding her in place. Her breath hissed as memories from the night before rushed back. The way they had touched her, whispered against her something precious. It did not make sense. He was supposed to be cold, indifferent, yet last night he had been anything but. Carefully she tried to shift, to put some distance between them. "Don't." His deep warning voice rumbled against her ear, Violin still heart pounding. She felt him shift behind her, his arm tightening just enough to remind her that she wasn't going anywhere. "You are awake," she whispered. Jungkook exhaled, his face nuzzling into her hair for just a moment before pulling back. "You move too much," he muttered, voice groggy but laced with authority. "Stay still." Wine bit her lip, unsure how to respond. She had expected him to get up, to leave as if nothing had happened, but he was not letting go. A few minutes of silence followed, the steady sound of his breathing filling the space between them. "You are." It was not a question. Wine's face burned. He was right, of course. Her body still, with the aftermath of the undeniable proof of what had between them. She swallowed, gripping the sheet. "I'm fine," Jungkook hummed, unimpressed. Then, without a word, he moved away, sitting up. Vine dared to turn, watching as he ran a hand through his tousled hair before reaching for the phone on the nightstand. Bring breakfast to the room, he ordered curtly. A pause, something light. Her eyes widened. Did he just before she could process it? He turned his gaze to her dark eyes, assessing. Go freshen up, he instructed. You'll eat first before anything else. Ryan hesitated. This was not the detached, emotionless she had married. This was a man who, despite his unreadable expression, was taking care of her. Why are you being? She trailed off, unsure of what she was even asking. Being what? She hesitated, but then shook her head. Nothing. A knowing smirk ghosted over his lips. He did not pause. Instead, as she made a move to go up, he reached out, pulling the silk sheet back over her bare shoulders. Don't rush, he said simply. I'll be here. And for some reason, that was what unraveled her the most. After freshening up, Ryan stepped out of the bathroom wrapped in the plush robe Jungkook had left for her. The breakfast cart had already arrived, neatly arranged with light dishes, exactly what she needed after last night. Jungkook sat at the edge of the bed, already dressed in crisp black button-up and slacks. He was scrolling through his phone, sharp and composed as ever. Eat, he instructed without looking up. Ryan blinked at the spread, fresh fruit, warm, crescent, soft, scrambled eggs, and even a cup of tea. You order all this for me? She asked hesitantly. Jungkook finally glanced up, arcing approval. Who else would it be for her lips parted, but before she could speak, he added, eat it all. She obeyed, but as she picked up the fork, what about you? I don't eat breakfast, he said simply. Why in front? That is unhealthy. Jungkook exhaled, setting his phone aside. Why in? She still at how effortlessly. He said her name, no cold formality, no forced reason, just her name, smooth and deep from his lips. You are, he continued, eyes darkening slightly as he watched her shift uncomfortably. I don't need you passing out because you are too stubborn to eat. Her face burned. I am fine. Eat. His voice left no room for argument. She huffed but obeyed, and when she finished, he simply nodded before rising. I have a meeting. I'll be back by noon. Ryan nodded, unsure what else to say, but before he could walk away, he casually added, if you need anything, ask. Her brows furrowed. Ask who? Jungkook gave her a long look. Me, before she could process that he was gone. By the time noon arrived, Ryan had showered, dressed in something comfortable, and was flipping through a book in the lounge when a soft knock sounded. A staff member entered, bowing slightly. Madam, the packages have arrived. Ryan blinked. Packages? The staff gestured to the entrance, and her breath caught. Boxes, dozens of them. Designer labels, luxury brands, all stacked neatly as if an entire boutique had been delivered to her doorstep. She shot up from her seat. Wait, this isn't mine. Before the staff could respond, it is now. Wine turned to see Jungkook standing there, his hands in his pockets, gaze unreadable. You, she gestured at the mountain of expensive beef. What is this? You needed clothes, he stated simply. They are not good enough. Her mouth fell open. Excuse me. Jungkook stepped closer, his dark gaze scanning over her outfit. If you're my wife, you'll dress like it. He reached out, fingers pressing over the soft fabric of her sweater. No more basic things. Vine narrowed her eyes. So you just bought everything without asking me? Jungkook's lips quaked slightly. Did you forget I told you if you need anything ask? But since you didn't, I handle it myself. Her cheeks burned. That is not how this works. If you don't like something, throw it out. He cut her off smoothly, but I doubt you'll need to. Wine gaped at him, then at the boxes, luxurious dresses, shoes, jewelry things she would never buy for herself. He started walking away. Pick something, we are going out for dinner tonight. And just like that, he left her drowning in luxury she never asked for. Dinner was at a private rooftop restaurant, exclusive, elegant, and breathtaking. The night was cool, stars twinkling above us, soft golden lights illuminated the table Jungkook had reserved. Wayne tried to keep her composure, but everything, the dress, the location, the entire situation felt surreal. Halfway through the meal, Jungkook casually reached into his pocket and slid a small velvet box across the table. Wayne blinked at it. What is this? A gift? She hesitated. Why? He sighed, leaning back in his chair. Because I want to. Her fingers curled around the box, slowly opening it. Inside was a delicate diamond necklace, simple yet impossibly beautiful. The stones glistened under the candlelight, catching every flicker of movement. She swallowed hard. Jungkook, wear it, he said smoothly, already moving to stand. Wine barely had time to react. Before he stepped behind her, brushing her hair aside, she felt the cool touch of the chain against her skin. As he clasped it in place, his finger ghosting over her nape, you don't have to. Don't argue, he murmured near her ear, sending shiver down her spine. Just take it, her breath hissed. He wasn't asking, and when she turned slightly to look at him, her heart stuttered at the way his gaze softened just for a second, just enough for her to see that she was not the only one falling. The drive back to Jungkook's penthouse was silent, at least it should have been. The city lights flickered past the tinted windows, casting faint glows across the luxurious interior of the car. Vine sat beside him, hands folded neatly in her lap, trying desperately to ignore the lingering heat in her body. The dinner, the necklace, the way his fingers had brushed against her skin, it was all too much. But what was worse, he sat there, one hand lazily gripping the steering wheel, the other resting on his thigh. His sleeves were rolled up, exposing the veins that ran along his forearms, and his jaw was locked in that unreadable, effortless dominance he always carried. And for some reason that bothered her, so without realizing it, she found herself watching him, studying him, the sharp angles of his face, the way his dark lashes framed his cold eyes, the slight parting of his lips as he exhaled through his nose. Vian, her breath hid. His voice was low, smooth, like he was already toying with her. Yes, she stammered. Jungkook didn't even glance at her, but his grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly. If you keep looking at me like that, he mused, voice deep and slow. I must just stop this car. Vian blinked. What? His lips twitched, a dark amusement flickering in his gaze as he finally turned toward her. One hand leaving the I will stop the car, he repeated, fingers pressing just enough to make her inhale sharply. And I will dash you right here. Vine's entire body tensed, heat rushing up her neck. Jungkook, what? He interrupted smoothly, his thumb stroking slow circles over her dash. You think I won't? Her breath stuttered, her dash pressing together on instinct. That was a mistake. He felt it. A dark chuckle left his lips. Oh, sweetheart, he exhaled, voice dripping with dash delight. You are already dash your dash together. Wine whimpers, shifting in her seat, but that only made him hum in satisfaction. I was going to wait until we got home, he admitted, voice dropping on an octave. But you, his finger trailed up. You just had to keep looking at me like that. Wine sucked in a sharp breath, shaking her head. I wasn't. Screech. Before she could finish, Jungkook shivered the car, pulling into a dark, empty side road. The tires came to a halt, the silence pressing between them like a loaded gun. Vine's pulse pounded. Jungkook, he turned to her fully now, eyes dark with something dangerous. You kept looking at me, he murmured, tilting his head. So now you are going to take responsibility. And before she could proceed, his hands were on her across the console and onto Wine Gap. You are already. He mused, running his nose along the sole of her ear. Do you know what that does to me? Her hands whispered in his shirt, torn between shame and unbearable heat. No one will, he cut her off. But maybe you want to get caught by and shivered, shaking her head furiously. I don't, liar, Jungkook whispered, giving her chin and forcing her to look at him. You love when I talk like that, like this, don't you? Her body betrayed her. She let out a, and that was all the confirmation he needed. A dark smoke curled on his lips. That is my good girl. And then he. It wasn't sweet, it wasn't tender. It was raw, hot, and consuming his hands, making her feel just how much he wanted her. You should not be ashamed. And that sound, it dragged him. Say it, he demanded, rolling his. Say you belong to me, Vian gasped. I belong to you, Jungkook tightened around her waist. That is right, sweetheart, and I am about to. And in that car under the dark city light, he did exactly that. Thank you for watching.